Well, good morning. Good morning, beloved of God. Right where you are at this moment, the light of Spirit shines through you. Infinitely loved by God, you are the light of the world. I'm Doug, and I welcome you to Unity Spiritual Center of Waco this morning. If you haven't already done so, this would probably be a good time to turn cell phones to silent or off. Please stand as you're able and join us in our congregational singing.
This morning I'm going to have my lovely assistant Penny sing for us today so I can play it.
I'm going to try to remember it because we didn't even get to practice.
Yeah. She knows it. She's great. All right, I'm going to give you the lead in. Here we go. And how do you play this song? Okay, I got it. Here we go.
I didn't know how to turn it off.
Oh dear. Okay, let's try it one more time. All right, that's fine. Just gives me time to practice one more time. All right.
So let us say our statement of truth, which is on the screen. There is only one presence and one power in the universe and in my life. God is good, omnipotent. We are a beacon of love and light for those who need this spiritual home right now. And let us say our vision, mission, and core value for today. Our vision: to awaken the awareness of the Spirit. Let us get through. You're on top of it, not me. Our mission: raise consciousness, transform lives, heal the planet, one person at a time, beginning with me. And our core value for today is prayer and meditation. We acknowledge the power of prayer and meditation to inspire, transform, and heal. Through affirmative prayer, we change our lives. Through meditation, we open ourselves to insight, intuition, and conscious awareness of spirit within. Okay, our daily word for today. You'd think I'd never done this before. August the 15th, the topic is joy. I say yes to the joy that invites me in this moment. Joy is the call of my heart. Whether I'm at work or at play, I bring a spirit of joyfulness in everything I do. More than a mood or an attitude, joy is part of me and mine to live and to share. Like all aspects of my divine identity, joy flowers in my consciousness when I hold joyful thoughts and feelings. I express my joy as the excitement of anticipation, fascination to a new discovery, deep satisfaction in a relationship, and the tranquil glow from communing with God in prayer. My joy is contagious, and I love to share it. I have feelings of joy when I take part in a friend's or a family's members' joyous moments, their celebrations, and their accomplishments. I feel quiet joy when I offer encouragement and even when I give comfort, grateful to share the care and love of God. 1 Thessalonians, the 5th chapter, verse 16, simply says, rejoice always. So again, our affirmation to today is I say yes to the joy that invites me in this moment. Together, I say yes to the joy that invites me in this moment. Now it's our second congregational song.
Soften the ground of my heart, carve out a space within me, where your presence can abide, where your
Thank you, Lucinda and Penny. All of you folks who have a part in the service this morning, we are delighted to see you here, and it's a pleasure to welcome each of you to Unity Spiritual Center today. Together we affirm and celebrate our unity, our oneness with each other, our oneness with all that is, and our oneness in God. Your presence is essential for each of us as a unique aspect of the spiritual energy that expresses as Unity Spiritual Center of Waco right here and right now. And we know none of us is here by accident or coincidence. As we remind you each week, Unity is a new thought denomination, yet new thought is nothing new to the world. It is, in reality, a synthesis of the greatest concepts from the minds and spirit of humankind across the ages. The laws of Moses, the love of Christ, the ethics of Buddha, the morals of Confucius, the 5 pillars of Islam, and the deep spiritual realization of the Hindus all find an exalted place in unity. In unity, we believe that all people are created with sacred worth, regardless of ethnicity, culture, sexual orientation, or creed. And we know that neither God nor unity leave anyone out. So let's join together now in prayer. We take a moment to turn within and experience the presence of God moving in and through and as each of us. And from that connected place, we say eternal presence, God of light, love, wisdom, peace, and joy, God of all of life. As we come together this morning in a spirit of gratitude, in a spirit of joy, we hold in our hearts the many people throughout the world who are experiencing challenges, from earthquakes to violence to a pandemic. We hold them up in the light, seeing them surrounded in your light, your love, your healing power. How grateful we are to know that with you, all things are possible. We remember that it is in you that we live and move and have our being. That is the truth for all people. And so we bless them. We know that your will for them is their highest good. We hold in our hearts all who have asked for prayer, for healing and health, for prosperity, for comfort, for support, for divine order. And we affirm that the right and perfect solution to each situation is unfolding right here and right now. We especially hold in our hearts with great conviction all of the leaders of our country, all the countries of the world, all of the people of the world, seeing them inspired by your divine presence within them, so that we might all come together in a spirit of compassion, of kindness, so that there may be peace and prosperity throughout our entire planet. We remember that it is written that when the disciples asked Jesus, "Lord, how shall we pray?" He said to them, "Pray like this." And together we say the Lord's Prayer as translated from the Aramaic, which is on the screen. Infinite presence, which is everywhere. Your name is sacred. Your kingdom is come. Your will is throughout the earth, even as it is throughout the universe. You give us our needful bread from day to day, and you forgive our offenses, even as we forget our offenders. You let us not enter into materialism, but you separate us from error, because yours are the kingdom, the power, and the song, and the praise, from all ages, throughout all ages, sealed in faith, trust, and peace. Each of us is the light and love of God, spiritual beings having a human experience. You are God's beloved, and we embrace you today. Do we have a video?
Yeah.
Okay, then I'm going to go sit down and watch.
I used to
never do videos because I thought a real musician plays all her own music. And then I got over myself. And I actually really enjoy putting these videos together, have something to sort of look at. So, okay, anyway. Hit it! Well, can you back it up? I'm not sure where to come in from there. Maybe. It's not letting me. Okay, I'll try to pick it up. With the divine, everything is alive with spirit. Everything is a wonder, unfolding right before our eyes. Everything is alive with spirit, with spirit. Everything is a blessing, bursting from the earth and sky. Everything is alive with spirit, with spirit. Everyone is sacred. Everyone is filled with the divine. Everyone is alive with spirit, with spirit. Everything is sacred. Everything is filled with the divine. Everything is alive with spirit, with spirit. Everything is a wonder, unfolding right before our eyes. Everything is alive with spirit, with spirit. Everything is a blessing, bursting from the earth and sky. Everything is alive with spirit, with spirit. Everyone is sacred. Everyone is filled with the divine. Everyone is alive with spirit, with spirit. We are everything is sacred.
Lucinda, I'm I'm not sure how you manage to do it every week. She gets the same blurb that I send out to you on Thursdays with the talk title and a short blurb about what it's going to be about. And then her singing, her video, everything just fits so perfectly. We are truly blessed, and we appreciate all the time and effort that I know that goes into that. Sometimes it takes me 15 minutes to find one picture to go with, the first slide or whatever. So I don't know how you manage to do that so well with the video, but thank you. Well, as I may not have mentioned, the title of today's message is Out in the Fields with God, the Sacredness of All of Life. I periodically go through things that I have that came to me from my aunt, who was very special to me. And I recently came across, again, a yellow sheet with the poem, Out in the Fields with God, that she had saved. And at the bottom, in her handwriting, was written, Elizabeth Barrett Browning. For whatever reason, I looked on the internet just to make sure that it was written by Elizabeth Barrett Browning, and I found several sites that did attribute the poem to her. So we're going to trust that it's hers, although I will admit I did find another spot that attributed it to someone else. But I really admire and respect Elizabeth Barrett Browning, so we're going with her. So anyway, I'm going to share it with you, and I'll ask Karen now to show it on the screen, and we'll leave it there. So we can read it together. You don't have to read it out loud, but out in the field with God, the little cares that fretted me, I lost them yesterday among the fields above the sea, among the winds at play, among the lowing of the herds, the rustling of the trees, among the singing of the birds and the humming of the bees. The foolish fears that might happen, I cast them all away among the clover-scented grass, among the new-mown hay, among the hushing corn, where the drowsy poppies nod. Their ill thoughts die, and the good are born out in the fields with God. I really resonated with that poem and felt there was so much in it that offers us some wonderful thoughts and metaphors. So first we're just going to look at the straightforward meaning of the poem, and then perhaps look at a deeper into its message. So the poem starts out with an interesting, somewhat unusual phrasing, the thought that Browning wanted to convey. And she says, the little cares that fretted me. It reminds me of people who use the expression, it wonders me, meaning roughly, I wonder why. The little cares that fretted me no doubt means I was worrying about some things that concerned me. Obviously, her way is much more interesting and, well, poetic. So Browning tells us that she lost those little cares and concerns among the fields above the sea. How did that happen? Well, first of all, each of her senses is obviously heightened. She feels the gentle wind. She's attuned to the quiet sounds of the cows lowing and the rustling of the trees, the bird songs. She sees the beauty of the colorful poppies, and there were some poppies in the air this morning. She sees and hears those things in the field above the sea. I think for many of us, it's easy to get caught up in the drama of our everyday lives, as well as being bombarded with news that's often overwhelming, that it's hard to stop our minds long enough to attend to the sights and the sounds that surround us so magnificently. For instance, I often choose to eat breakfast out on my patio in the morning and watch the various birds that come to the feeders, and I really enjoy that. Yet frequently I'm distracted by the headlines in the newspaper or just thoughts running through my head about what I might need to do that day or a million other things. And then I forget to continue to bring in the magic of the moment. Browning goes on to say, the foolish fears of what might happen, I cast them all away. I wonder how many times we get caught up in what might happen. Clearly, if you read the papers, watch TV, or receive various emails, it isn't too hard to become filled with imaginings of the terrible things that could occur in all aspects of our life. Perhaps especially now as we deal with the confusion and uncertainty around the coronavirus. Also, in the past several years, it seems there's been more and more commercials on TV from pharmaceutical companies. I mean, I try to record everything so I don't have to watch commercials, but every once in a while. And they're advertising all these drugs for every imaginable condition. And just watching those ads can cause one to wonder and worry about what afflictions we might get, some that we've never even heard about before. So unfortunately, as we know from our third unity principle, that what we focus our attention on is what often shows up in our lives. So I really try not to watch those commercials and get concerned about what diseases or conditions might be lurking around the corner. Then, of course, if you watch what's happening on the world financial front from day to day, there's yet another thing to get concerned about. And on. There may be different issues for each of us, but it's easy to get caught in the what ifs. So Browning is saying that she cast away the foolish fears among the clover-scented grass and new moon hay. We may not recognize that most of our fears are foolish, but to a very real extent, in fact, they are. And in reality, worrying never kept what we're worrying about from happening. And if you think about all of the times that you worried, you'll probably realize most of those things never did come about anyway. I know that's certainly true for me. So the foolish fears of what might happen, I cast them all away among the clover-scented grass, among the new-mown hay, among the hushing of the corn where drowsy poppies nod, where ill-thought die and good are born out in the fields with God. Out in the fields with God. As we envision the scene of being out in the field with God, we know that the life of God flows in and through all that is, through all living things, which, again, was so clear from the video that we saw this morning. God is life. So the poppies, the corn, the birds, the cows are all manifestations of life, the divine that is in all that is. I found a beautiful affirmation that says, living in a world of divine creativity, I see divinity everywhere I turn. Living in a world of divine creativity, I see divinity everywhere I turn. Paramahansa Yogananda wrote, whenever you see a beautiful sunset, think to yourself, it is God painting the sky. I like that. As Elizabeth Barrett Browning is walking there in the field above the sea, she's clearly filled with serenity and joy through the experiences of the life that surrounds her everywhere in its many forms. What I interpret Browning saying is that she is allowing the presence of God to fill her awareness through all that she experiences being out there. Yet we know that there's also a deeper understanding of being out in the fields with God. The presence of God is within us, so we are never separate from that presence. Another important aspect of what Browning is telling us is that when one remains in the present moment, focusing only on what's right here, right now, ill thoughts die and good are born. Think about it. It is typically when we're reliving the unpleasantness from the past or anticipating the misfortunes of the future that we feel anger, frustration, anxiety, pressure, tension, fear. When we allow ourselves to surrender to what is in the present moment, we can almost recognize that everything is, in this very instant, is really quite okay. Even with the thunder going on, we're still really okay right here. I kept a page from a long ago daily word and had it framed on my altar. And it says, I quiet my mind and become fully aware of all this moment has to teach me. All the wisdom I need is here now. My thoughts may drift to the past or future, but I need not remain there. I can choose instead to immerse myself in the power of the present moment. It is here that I connect with the divine wisdom. It is here that I connect with the divine wisdom. Ill thoughts die and good are born out in the fields of God. What Browning is really saying in her lovely poem is really about staying in the present moment and surrender. It is reinforced by this quote from Oprah Winfrey. Nothing is more effective than a deep, slow inhale and release for surrendering what you can't control and focusing again on what's in front of you. As I mentioned, I see this poem as being about surrendering to the present moment, turning our lives and our will over to the care of God, knowing that regardless of appearances, all is in divine order in our lives and in the world. When it's a tough concept to wrap our minds around. At least for me. Especially as we view current events in our world. But as I know we've read this book before, Finding Yourself in Transition. We did a class on it. And I was reading it again. And I came across a passage, a quote by Barbara Marx Hubbard that I'll share with you. She says, crises precede transformation. Before every quantum change, problems emerge. Limits to growth, stagnation, unmanageable complexity, impending catastrophes, disintegration. From the perspective of the present, the crisis looks like mistakes, deadly errors in the system. But from the perspective of after the quantum transformation, these problems are seen to be evolutionary drivers, vital stimulants which trigger astounding design innovations. Interesting, very interesting. I believe we can see the truth of this concept for our own lives as well as for the world. By the way, Barbara Marx Hubbard was a prolific futurist, author, and public speaker. And before her death, in a presentation, she was the president of the Foundation of Conscious Evolution. I heard her speak at the Unity Convention back in San Diego in 2010. I also have a great DVD of her futuristic thoughts, which, you know, you might want to take a look at some time. Elizabeth Barrett Browning lived much of her life in England, but after her marriage to Robert Browning, they lived much of their time in Italy. So as we read the poem, we could picture her walking somewhere on the coast of England, perhaps near the white cliffs of Dover. I think we have a picture of the white cliffs of Dover. So we could picture her walking there, or conversely, overlooking the Adriatic Sea on the coast of Italy. And there we see the poppies. Many of us resonate with this poem and the idea that lovely scene Elizabeth Barrett Browning painted for us through her words. Perhaps this is because many of us find it that we connect more naturally and more fully when we're out in nature and filled with the beauty around us, the trees, the flowers, the birds, animals, and all the wonders of nature. It helps us to actually feel the presence of God in all we behold, and to feel Spirit moving in and through and as us. I'd like to introduce another possibility about the poem. Perhaps Elizabeth Barrett Browning didn't actually walk out in the fields with God, for we know that during a great portion of her lifetime, she was physically very, very frail. Perhaps she could have just imagined being there out in the field with God and have written through her imagination. We can do that too. That's just what we can experience when we allow ourselves to quiet our thoughts and connect with God, with the divine within. In a meditative state, we can take imaginary walks in the fields, in the woods, near water, fields of flowers, such that it can actually feel like what it would be like to be in such a place, to be at peace, to know that God is present in all that we're envisioning, as well as present within us as our very life. So Karen, if you put that other slide up, we're going to read that second part of the poem again. The foolish fears of what might happen, I cast them all away. Among the clover-scented grass, among the new mown hay, among the hushing of the corn, where drowsy poppies nod, where ill thoughts die and good are born, out in the fields with God. I invite you to consider a real or virtual walk in the field with God each day, to be present in the moment and to surrender your concerns to the care of God, knowing that God's will for you is always your highest good. God's voice is speaking to us this morning very clearly, very loudly. So let's tie the ideas in today's message with a beautiful affirmation adapted from the Quest by Richard and Mary Alice DeFalla. I'll say it and then I'll ask Karen to put it on the screen so we might say it together. It's an affirmation. It says, I turn my life over to God. As I surrender to oneness, I feel enfolded in peace and comfort. I know that the crooked places are made straight and that everything is in divine order. I am grateful for perfection of God as it moves through me now. If Karen will put that up on the screen, we'll say that together. I turn my life over to God. As I surrender to oneness, I feel enfolded in peace and comfort. I know that the crooked places are made straight and that everything is in divine order. I am grateful for perfection of God as it moves through me now. So let's take those thoughts now into a time of meditation. And I think today what I'd like to do, since we're running a little bit late, is I'd like us to do our Buddhist mantra together for our meditation, meditation portion this morning. So it's a beautiful mantra, and we will say it together. And Karen has part of it on the screen. So let's just take a moment to breathe, to become centered, to know that we are an expression of the presence of God. And so together we say our Buddhist mantra. As I grow older, may I be kind to myself. As I grow older, may I accept joy and sorrow. As I grow older, may I be happy and at peace. It's not. Then I will just finish reading it myself. As all things grow older, may they be kind to each other. As all beings grow older, may they accept joy and sorrow. As all beings grow older, may they be happy and at peace. So it is, and so we let it be. Amen and amen.
So this is the time in our spirit. This is the time in our service when we have an opportunity to give back to the work of spirit through our offerings and our tithes. We give in love and gratitude for our own prosperity in its many forms, which comes to us through God, our instant, constant, and abundant source. Will the ushers please come forward? I invite you to hold your offerings in your hand as we say our offertory blessing together. Divine love, through me, blesses and multiplies all the good I am and have, all the good I give and receive, and I am grateful.
Will the ushers please come forward again so we may bless these offerings? This thunder and lightning thing has never happened on Sunday here, so it's kind of interesting. Anyway, shall we say our prosperity affirmation together and then our prayer for protection and sing the peace song? So our prosperity affirmation.
Right on top of us right now.
We affirm continued growth and prosperity from the spiritual center of Waco and in our grateful. And our prayer for protection, the light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. Wherever I am, God is, and all is well. Let's stand to sing. Expression of God, infilled with the ability to see all the good there is. Let the church say amen.
Amen.